put another big next to Ben, then you got to figure out what the spacing is around it. Then if you put a playmaker next to him, then you got to figure out what Ben looks like without the basketball.
I would say he's in the final stage of prep for the season, and he has passed every benchmark and is as healthy as he has ever been since his last year in Philly.
This YouTube channel is no stranger to Ben Simmons content. As a matter of fact, I think half of my library has been devoted to this young man and the way he decided to handle a difficult circumstance in his life. And it seems like we got a brand new update on Ben Simmons that I think we've seen before. And a lot of people are buying it, but on this channel, we're fairly skeptical. So before we get to the content, NBA 2K24 is about to come out. We're going to be running a lot of giveaways on my Instagram story and my Snapchat story. Make sure you're followed on both at FlightMike Snap on Snapchat and at TheFlightMike on Instagram. And now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The story of Ben Simmons is truly a tragic one. A man that has been known to have all the talent in the world. The one thing that has always held Ben Simmons back is, in my opinion, he's very mentally feeble. Whether it's due to a lack of work ethic, which is at least my perception of him, and this is further demonstrated by just looking at his statistics since he entered the NBA. The first 4 seasons of his career are very, very similar statistical outputs if you compare all of them to one another. Or it could just be the way he responds whenever he's placed in a very difficult situation. Now, I don't want to sound insensitive because people go through very difficult things in their life. I mean, I don't know how long you guys have been rocking with me, but last summer wasn't necessarily the greatest summer of my life either. It's the way we decide to handle these circumstances that make us who we are. You're only as strong as you are in your weakest moment. And unfortunately for Ben Simmons, when Trey Young and the Atlanta Hawks decided to take his soul away during the 2021 NBA playoffs, the way Ben Simmons decided to respond was by demanding a trade and holding out until he got traded. And upon getting traded, things would just get worse and worse for the man. You get traded to the Brooklyn Nets, you would think this would be a fresh start for Ben Simmons, going from a team that was all in on your development and was trying to develop you into the best player that you could be to being third fiddle behind Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, assuming that you can make it onto the court to play with them. After the Nets tried the KD, Irving, and Ben Simmons experiment and realized that Ben Simmons was a shell of his former self that season, they decided to blow the roster up. They traded away Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for a plethora of assets, which also resulted in a logjam at Ben Simmons' position. If you remember, Jacques Vaughn at the time, the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, or the interim head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, said that Ben Simmons' future didn't look so good on the roster. If you guys remember this interview.
It's going to be some work that we have to do. Because you just take a look at what the lineups could potentially look like. Put another big next to Ben, then you got to figure out what the spacing is around it. Then if you put a playmaker next to him, then you got to figure out what Ben looks like without the basketball. Then if you go small with Ben, then you got to figure out, can you rebound enough with him? The challenges are ahead of us. We'll look them head on. We'll figure it out. We have the personnel to figure it out. Whether it is me mixing and matching throughout different pieces of the game, and allowing him to have a group and run with a group. That part we'll figure out, but you see the challenges that lie ahead.
And it seems like almost immediately after the Nets traded for Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Mikal Bridges, it seemed like for some reason Ben Simmons suffered a major back injury and was out for the rest of the season. I am not one to call for fake injuries or anything of that sort. I just thought the timing was a little interesting, especially given what Jacques Vaughn said about Ben Simmons at this point. So Ben Simmons pretty much forced himself off of a team that was all in on his development to become an end of a bench type of player in 2022 to 2023. A lot of people are speculating that this young man might not be in the league anymore once his contract expires, but that isn't stopping his teammates from picking him up. I mean, Mikal Bridges said this during the offseason.
This is my guy. I got big confidence. I got big faith in him more this year. His back was messed up now, got surgery, he's getting back. But he loved the game, bro. I think he's in a good place. All of us, we're close. He's the one talking in the chat all the time, and we all with him. And obviously, we want him to score and stuff, but we ain't pressed about it. You just want to be him, be aggressive.
How do you find ways you can be a support system for him?
Just be there with him, man. Support him. Even if you struggle, whatever, that's cool. Wherever city we go hang out, go get dinner, whatever, get ready for the next one. I think that's the biggest thing, is just he could be confident enough to fail and know like we're there for them. You don't want nobody to, you feel that pressure every single time, like, oh, if I don't play well, oh, these guys might not like me. Like, nah, for me, that's not the case. I'll just try to be there. I'm like, listen, bro, you struggle. Like, we're here for you. We want to be there through the process. If you shoot 5 middies in a row, you miss all 5, shoot the 6th one. You know what I'm saying?
Royce O'Neal showed this video of Ben Simmons working, and even Ben Simmons decided to post an inspirational image of himself. On his Instagram as a post, he posted the picture that you see on your left, and then he posted the picture you see on your right onto his story. Some people are saying that this is a troll attempt by Ben Simmons, and if it is, then honestly, I have a little bit more respect for him. And you might be wondering, how is this a troll attempt by Ben Simmons? Well, if there's one thing that Ben Simmons is also known for, it's for his off-season workouts. Each and every off-season, a version of Ben Simmons comes out that is near mythical. I mean, there are legendary personas in basketball, like masked Kobe Bryant, masked Kyrie Irving, headband LeBron James, just had a child Fred VanVleet. And there's off-season Ben Simmons, who will consistently post videos of himself sinking jump shots from way beyond the arc, and then when the regular season comes around, he won't attempt a single one. The reason why this has been so frustrating for Brooklyn Nets fans or Philadelphia 76ers fans when Ben Simmons was on the 76ers is the three-point jumper is the only thing holding Ben Simmons back from being a top 3 player in the NBA. And I will say this as a guy that's been a critic of Ben Simmons over and over and over on this channel. Hell, you even had the late great Kobe Bryant saying this about Ben Simmons and getting a jumper.
Well, he's got to get a jump shot. It's like, sounds humorous and all that, but I'm dead serious. You can't, like, because if not, he'll regret it. When his career is over.
So at this point, you're familiar with the Ben Simmons cycle. The season starts, Ben Simmons plays terribly, he gets a random back injury, and then he'll post an off-season workout video. And that's where we currently are, at the off-season workout video. And we got a brand new off-season workout video as well. And I promise you, I feel like he's paying media outlets at this point to post this type of content. Because even look at the caption that Dunk Central posted saying, Ben Simmons jumper alert. I mean, I immediately replied to this saying nobody's buying this. I'll post this each and every year because I want it to be on the record that I'm not buying it. I never will buy it. The one thing that has always troubled Ben Simmons throughout his career is a lack of work ethic. He'll always show off that he is putting in the work, but the fact of the matter is the people that are putting in the work usually aren't flexing that they're putting in the work. You might not know by looking at me from this angle, but I actually do train at a gym 5 times a week, 6 times a week if you include my weekly yoga. 5 times a week, I go into the gym, do strength training, do some cardio, I do intermittent fasting each and every day. And if you go onto my Instagram story, I won't post it a single time. If you go to my private Instagram story, you may see me post a gym selfie once every 2 to 3 weeks. And that's if content is slow and if I happen to capture one of my angles. The people that are putting in the work typically are silent about it. But that's not the only thing that Ben Simmons did. He actually had a sit-down conversation and said some very alarming things in this interview as well. So this is coming from an article called Andscape, written by the legendary Mark J. Spears. The first thing he says is, I'm excited to come back because I know I can do it. So that's the exciting part for me. Last Thursday night, I'm like, yo, let's get back in the gym. I'm excited. I get to do something I love to do at a high level. Regardless of what people say, I'm a 3-time All-Star, All-NBA player, All-Defensive team. I've done things. I'm not somebody that hasn't done anything. I'm not gonna hate on him for affirming his accomplishments. You know, there's times where I hate to consistently compare myself to his situation. It's the way I empathize with other human beings. There's times where I'm a little bit tough on myself, whether it's in terms of like me putting out a video that I felt like could have been better, me forgetting a very important detail in a video, me making a thumbnail that wasn't the greatest, or us even uploading a reel that didn't fulfill all the details that needed to be included in 1 minute, which was
Really freaking hard, by the way.
and whenever I get down on myself, and I recommend this for everyone, I usually affirm my achievements to myself. And I love hearing that. There's times where you're low on motivation, and it seemed like he was low on motivation. And one of the top things I do say to myself as well is I get to do something I absolutely love to do. So I'm glad that he's realizing this. Gratitude is a great way to get yourself back into a headspace of competing at a high level. Now he continues to say, but at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to go out and compete against the best in the world and be one of the best, which I want him to be great. Believe me, it's just after going through this over and over again, I really still have questions about his work ethic. Now, the next part is pretty alarming. Ben coming in and saying, for me to come back and dominate people will be great. I don't intend to come back the same same player I was last season. I mean, bro, if you do, you're probably out of the league the season after. But he continues to say, because that's not even close to where I am. I get excited because I'm like, damn, I would explode on the player I was last year. But I know where I was at last year, so it's easy to say that. But it's just fun to go and do the thing that you love when you're out there. That's really it for me. I don't really ask for too much. Sometimes I think about my recent struggles. I'm like, damn, that's a lot. Sometimes I sit down and break it down. That was exhausting and I was having to deal with all that. But I feel like there are different situations you can handle, and this is a good test for me. How much worse can it get? So he also takes us through a typical day in the life of Ben Simmons. He wakes up, gets ready, then gets to the training table with his trainer Scott, eats breakfast, gets back on the table, gets treatment done for about an hour or 45 minutes. He'll do some Pilates first, then some knee loading, and then he'll either hop on the bike or go straight to the facility, then head to the gym. Depending on what stage we're at with rehab at the start, I gotta do off the grid fitness, so the treadmill with the air, so it's taking your body weight off. Once we got that, we were more onto the court. Then we usually hit a lift right after. Then depending on what is next, we usually go back and shoot, depending on if it's a long session or a short session. It's 5 to 6 hours daily, and then the more I can progress, the more I'm allowed to do, the better I'm feeling. So recently, I've been enjoying it a lot more because I've been allowed to do a lot more, which has been exciting. He also mentions his back injury. I don't think people realize how bad it was in terms of physically, how I was feeling, and what I was able to do on the floor. Being able to sit down now and not having to slouch or lean in one way, it's kind of crazy for me, but I feel I'm at 100% right now. I'm just building back to where I'm playing. I haven't played in a while, just taking hits and getting my body used to that. He mentions the back issues began when he was in Philadelphia. Originally, it was the Bucks game. He went up, twisted, and I think that's when I really irritated it right before the bubble when they stopped playing. They canceled the game, so I got lucky in that situation because they stopped playing and I was able to rehab. And I got it to a great place. And then I had an incident or an episode right before I got traded to Brooklyn on September of 2022. I went up the stairs and my back kind of gave out. And that's when it really got a lot worse. And then I tried to rehab. Now I'm about to get ready to play in game 4 with the Nets in Boston. And we were playing 5-on-5. And I told them I want to play one more 5-on-5 to see how I felt. I was playing, pushed it a little bit too hard. The next day I woke up on the floor. I couldn't even move. I had to make that call and say I can't go. People don't know that, but that was just a part of it. And then from there, I decided to have surgery. Rehab was a little different because it wasn't with the people that I had been with before. So it kind of felt a little bit new. It was just one of those things that they really didn't know my body. So they didn't know what I really needed at the time. Tried to come play that next season, wasn't able to do it. Regardless of people telling me to push myself physically, I wasn't able to do it. I could barely jump. I'm over here airballing hook shots because I can't even land on my left knee anymore because that was taking the pressure. So I had a huge knee. There was a lot of things going on. Throughout the season, I was trying to manage and just be able to get out there and play, and then it got too much. During last season, my brother Liam told me I could barely get up and down. I'm over here running around setting picks and giving handoffs because that's really what I could do. And then we had to make some bigger decisions because I just wanted to get the situation in the right place for me because it was just kind of unfair. I felt like I was putting myself in a worse situation. I'm hearing all these things like he doesn't want to play and all these different things, and it got to a point where I'm like, I need to take this seriously. We need to figure out what's going on. He says he got a few tests done and then he herniated his left and right side of his back, which is why he wasn't able to put muscle onto his right leg or do anything like that and play the way he usually knows how to play. So he spent all summer focusing on that, which is very, very good to see moving forward. And in terms of this article, other highlights include him saying that his body feels stronger and even mentioning that he has love for the city of Philadelphia, which is shocking. He even mentioned the Game 7 loss of the 2022 Eastern Conference Finals versus the Atlanta Hawks. So in terms of Philly, he said, I had a lot of fun there. It was time for me to go. When I did leave, it was good timing, obviously. The injury and everything that was going on didn't help, but I think it gave me a chance to really appreciate it. I'll always have love for Philly. People always ask me, like, if you were to get traded again, where would you want it to be? I always say just Philly. Philly's a second home to me. And in time, you learn and grow as people. I don't really have anything bad to say about Philly. It was a crazy situation at the end, but it is what it is. And about that Game 7 loss versus Atlanta, which was his final game in Philly, Ben Simmons said something that, I mean, you guys tell me. I don't even remember that game anymore. To me, I made a play. I gave it to somebody who's probably going to shoot better from free throw at that moment of the game. It didn't work, but I made a play. People make hundreds of plays throughout the year. They're not always going to be the right play at the right time, but it was a play. But that wasn't the factor of the game. You can go back and look at different things within the game where it could have been better. For me, shooting the free throws was one of them, but it didn't happen. So that's just something you just keep working on. I'm going to leave a link to this article in the description down below. It's a very, very dense article, and you guys can let me know, how do you feel about Ben Simmons? Do you think this is the season that he actually comes back? Do you think this is the season where he takes the next step forward as a player? I am very skeptical. I've seen Ben Simmons promising that he's going to be a great player during the regular season or the past 4 off seasons ever since I started making content. So obviously I'm going to be skeptical, but I do want him to succeed. I am rooting for him. I never want to root for someone to fail. It just, in the past, it doesn't seem like that's what usually happens. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.